Hello everyone. Today we are mastering the golden sentence of risk management, the cause-risk-effect relationship. Formally, this is a structured way of describing a risk by identifying the definite source, the uncertain event, and the potential impact on project objectives. In plain English, we are moving away from vague worries and starting to speak with total clarity. You've probably seen this at the office when someone says, "I'm worried about the budget." That's a start, but it doesn't help us fix it. As risk management professionals, we need to know exactly why that budget might blow up and what will happen if it does. Think of it like a chain reaction. I once worked on a project where we simply wrote weather as a risk. That was too vague. When we changed it to, because the site is in a flood zone, there is a risk of heavy rain which would cause a 3-week delay, suddenly everyone knew exactly what to do. So now that we mastered the idea that a risk needs a full story to be useful, you might be wondering about the very first link in that chain. Well, that brings us right into our next step, which is identifying the cause. This brings us to the risk cause. Technically, this is a condition or situation that exists in the present or is a definite fact which creates the possibility of a risk. To put it simply, this is the because of X part of our sentence. It's the trigger. Stay with me here because a cause is not a mystery, it's a fact. For example, our team has never used this software before is a cause. It is a true statement today. Or we are hiring an external vendor we've never worked with. By identifying the cause, you find the who behind the risk. If the cause is a lack of training, the stakeholder you need to talk to is the training manager. By starting with a factual cause, you ground your risk management in reality rather than just imagination. Now, once we have our factual cause, we need to look at the uncertain event it might trigger, which leads us straight into the risk event itself. Now we have to tackle the risk event. The book style definition refers to an uncertain event or condition that, if it occurs, has a positive or negative effect on one or more project objectives. In everyday speak, this is the uncertainty or the what if. This is the part of the sentence that starts with there is a risk that. If our cause was that the team is untrained, the risk event is there is a risk that they might make coding errors. Notice that it hasn't happened yet. That's why we call it a risk. Let's break this down together. If you confuse the cause with the risk, you'll end up trying to solve the wrong problem. You've probably seen this where people panic about a risk that is actually already a fact. By keeping the event separate, you can measure how likely it is to happen. But even if it does happen, we need to know the so what of the situation, which brings us right into our next step, the effect. This brings us to the risk effect. Formally, this is the conditional consequence or impact on project objectives such as schedule, cost, quality, or scope should the risk event occur. To translate that into human speak, it's the outcome. This is the part of the sentence that ends with which would lead to why. If our team makes coding errors, the effect might be a 2-week delay in our launch date. This is the part that gets the stakeholders' attention. I remember a project where the sponsor didn't care about our technical risks until we explained the effect. It will cost us an extra $50,000. Suddenly, they were very interested. By clearly stating the effect, you identify which stakeholders will feel the pain. Now, while we have all three parts, we need to learn how to snap them together like building blocks, which leads us to the standard risk statement. Let's look at the standard risk statement construction. Technically, this is the syntactical integration of cause, risk, and effect into a single actionable narrative. In simple terms, we use the formula because of cause, there is a risk that event might occur, which would lead to effect. This is the most professional way to communicate with your team. It removes the "oh" factor and replaces it with logic. You've probably seen meetings go in circles because nobody can agree on what the actual problem is. When you drop this golden sentence on the table, the room goes quiet because the logic is undeniable. It tells everyone exactly what the trigger is, what we are afraid of, and why it matters. By using this standard format, you ensure that every stakeholder is on the same page. Now, while having a great sentence is a huge win, we have to make sure this clarity leads to a real plan of attack. Which brings us right into our final step. Finally, we reach the strategic alignment and response. The formal definition is the process of using the cause risk effect statement to determine the most effective risk response strategy and assign ownership. In plain English, we are moving from talking to fixing. If your cause is a lack of experience, your fix is training. If your effect is a budget overrun, your fix is insurance or a contingency fund. The beauty of this three-part sentence is that it tells you exactly where to aim your arrow. You don't just manage the risk. You either attack the cause to stop it from happening, or you prepare for the effect to minimize the damage. It's been a long journey from a vague worry to a precision engineered plan. This systematic approach ensures that your stakeholder engagement is focused on solutions, not just problems. So now that we've mastered how to build the perfect risk statement, we are going to discuss writing statements in details in next chapter.